Hello, I'm Rebecca the Maths Lady, here to help you become an expert primary maths teacher so that all your children become fluent, creative and confident with their maths. This is the 13th video in the series on teaching maths to children who are 6 to 7-year-olds, and in this video we are going to look at handling data. In this video I'll explore tallying data, creating data tables, block diagrams or bar charts and pictograms. Right, let's get started by talking about tallying data, which I believe is the most important of the data management topics at this level. And here's why. Have a look at these. I've used these before in other videos. How many lines? How many lines now? Now, in learning to tally data, we're not only teaching children a data management tool, we are teaching them about an essential structure of number for children to be able to calculate fluently at this level. And it is the structure of fives and ones, recognizing numbers up to 20 especially instantly as fives and ones. And we can do it with tallies, but we can also do it with my coat hanger here. It's the same structure that's in Rec and Recs and 10 frames, and it's in your fingers and toes if you use them in this way, counting up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then flashing the 10 into your toes and carrying on with your fingers near your toes into the teen numbers. It's such an important structure. So please do tally things as often as you possibly can during this stage of children's maths education. So if you're doing a topic on pets, you could do a tally chart for the number of pets that the children in your class have between them for each type of pet. I've seen wonderful work done on sports day where enormous whiteboards are used to keep track on the points for each team. Have a think, how can you incorporate tallying into the topics you're doing this year? And if you want specific maths exercises, I've got a bag of coloured balls here. We could tally the colours of balls. Or we could throw lots of two-sided counters into the air and tally how many come down red and how many come down yellow. If you do that task, you're laying some fabulous foundations of maths for the future, giving children some real practical experience that will help them deeply understand topics like probability. And the topic of tallying flows straight on into the topic of data tables, because when we tally, we can count up the tallies and find the totals. So if we think about that two-sided counter experiment, we'd have red counters and yellow counters, and then we'd be tallying them. So if we threw them 10 times, we might get 7 reds and 3 yellows, and then we'd be considering the totals. And we could add the titles colour, tally, total or frequency. And there we have a classic data table, frequency table, that children will be using right the way through their education. So the more times during the year that you can create tables like this in authentic circumstances where children are doing topics they're interested in and would want to tally up data, the better. So that's half of data management, collecting and organising the data. The other half is presenting it. Now, I reference the English primary maths national curriculum because it is the hardest in the world. It shouldn't be, but it is. And that refers to children presenting data like this with pictograms and block diagrams. Now, block diagrams is not explained, but there's a bit of a consensus that it's basically bar charts where you're using one square for each thing. So there's no scaling in the bar chart. So we would take this data and have our columns red and yellow and colour in 7 blocks for red and 3 blocks for yellow. There it is. And you could colour that bar red and that bar yellow if you wanted, that'd be fine. And they could be next to each other or spaced out like this. But the key is at this level, it is 1 block per item, so you don't even need a scale at the side. Now here I come across problems in some of the worksheets because some people choose to label the blocks like this. Block 1, block 2, block 3, and they put a scale up the side like that. And that reflects the fact that we haven't properly introduced scales yet. Children are still working with numbers being individual objects. So it does make sense in that context, but it's an absolute nightmare because it's setting up all sorts of problems for the future. As a secondary teacher, I could never understand why some children were drawing bar charts with numbers in the spaces. This explains it. Please never put numbers in the spaces. They go on the lines, 1, 2, 3, because this here would be half a result, not one result, even at this level. And although we haven't properly introduced scales yet, we didn't get rid of them when we were working on capacity. If there were scales on the side, we just work with them and explain them as we go. And numbers on the lines are going to make perfect sense to children. They will interpret that 1 as meaning it's 1 square up to there. And as we take the numbers up the page, they're going to be able to see that that is a 7. And of course, it's nice to add titles and so on as well. So the results from pretty much any tallying process or any frequency table can be turned into a block diagram or a simple bar chart where the scale is in ones. And it's useful and powerful to do because children are learning to compare visually the size of numbers and see that 7 is a little bit bigger than being twice as big as 3 by length, as well as by reasoning. Now, the other way of presenting this data that we'd like children to encounter is as a pictogram. So we're basically turning this sideways. We're getting rid of all of this. And we're drawing little pictures to represent what's going on. So we could draw 7 counters for red and 3 counters for yellow. And then we need a scale that symbol is 1 counter. And we could do with a good title as well, but we're not too worried about that at this stage. The key is to have children so caught up in what they're doing that they deeply understand this diagram, whether or not there's a title there. And then with our pictograms, we are going to use some scaling. So we could change this scale so that one of those circles represents 2 counters. And then we draw this so that was 1.5 and that was 3.5. to represent the same outcomes. And the scales we want to work with are counting in 1s, 2s, 5s and 10s. Now, not all data works brilliantly in pictograms because you have to use a symbol that's the same for every row in the pictogram, and sometimes that just doesn't feel right for the data you're working with. So you need to think this one out a little bit in advance to make sure you're clear about how the data that you're gathering is going to work as a pictogram. One thing that's worth picking up on is that all the symbols have to be the same size and they have to be evenly spaced. So at this age, I would certainly get the children working on squared paper to make sure that that doesn't go drastically wrong. And if it does go wrong and suddenly you have one row with really small symbols and one row with large symbols, talk about that, because it's great to bring it to life as to why the symbols have to be the same size. Ask the children, is this okay to make the symbols different sizes? Why might it not be okay? Talk to your talk partner. Talk in groups. Which group can come up with the explanation as to why the symbols have to be the same size? And then you could ask about why they need to be evenly spaced as well. So in this video, we've explained the importance of working with tallying for this age group and how we translate tallying into data tables by adding a total column. I've explained how we create block diagrams or bar charts where every square on the bar chart is one item, and the importance of having the numbers on the lines, not in the spaces. And I've explained how we introduce pictograms. I hope you found this video useful. If you've time to leave a comment about the data activities that you're doing with your class, to share ideas with other teachers, that would be lovely. Please do subscribe to the channel so you can find it again, and please do tell your friends and colleagues about it or share it in social media groups if you think it's useful. The next video in this series will be about problem solving with children aged 6 to 7. I hope you'll join me for that soon. But if you want to find a video on any particular topic in primary maths, just click on the About tab for this YouTube channel and you'll find a link to the full list of videos. I hope you really enjoy your maths teaching. Bye for now.